Hey fans, welcome into this week's edition of Albany Devils Insider. As always, we're joined by the head coach of the Albany Devils, Rick Kowalsky. Rick, thanks for joining us.
As always.
Let's talk about this past weekend. Obviously a disappointing 2 games. You have the game against Connecticut, final game against Connecticut of the year, and these division games, there are now just 7 of them left, just the way the schedule pans out. Obviously they take on even that much more importance than traveling to Wilkes-Barre. 2 games that, as the game began to wound its way down, you were able to come back and nearly tie things up, but both times just coming up short.
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as the break, I think benefits you from a rest standpoint, I think we didn't quite have our legs the way we wanted to, and started, like you said, started to get them in the third, but mentally we weren't sharp, and the worst thing about it is they weren't that sharp either, but it was enough for them to score more than we did, basically. Power play, they got 2 on the power play, and we weren't able to capitalize. So it's unfortunate because it was a big game, and you can sit here and talk about you wouldn't necessarily want that game in that situation right after the break, but we can't worry about that. And unfortunately, when you lose a big game like that, you put that much more pressure on yourself the next night. And I thought we came out at a much better effort. Our execution was better, and again, had chances. But again, when you put yourself against top teams, it's such a fine line between winning and losing. And again, both 1-goal games that I felt we could have at least had a point in both, and end up coming up with nothing. And this time of year, you go into a weekend, if you don't make any progress, the last thing you want to do is take a step back. And we took a step back, so we definitely have to have a big week and a big weekend coming up here.
It's not an easier weekend either. Certainly, you're taking on 3 teams all on the road. There's going to be a lot of traveling involved, going from Hamilton to Syracuse to Providence. Obviously, the conditioning has to be so good for these 3 games to be able to stay competitive, all 3, in 3 games that you need to get points out of.
Yeah, well, you hope that last week's 4 days off pays off this coming weekend. We've had a couple good days of practice here, and the guys have seemed to be re-energized and refocused. And we've talked about it. We went over the schedule right through February and into March, and I think we got 7 3-and-3s and 3 3-and-4 nights, and the most travel we've seen all year. So we know it's going to be tough sledding. But again, this is where your preparation and your mental toughness is just as important as the physical side of it. And it's going to come. These games are going to be so tight. Sometimes it's just going to come down to the difference of specialty teams, or not getting the puck in or not getting the puck out, and those little breakdowns. So it comes down to not so much what you're doing right, but hopefully you're making that one less mistake than the other team. And on the other side of it, we have to capitalize on chances. We got to keep our shifts short. All the little things that we've talked about and put into place all year, we have to be right on top of on a regular basis every night.
Head coach of the Albany Devils, Rick Kowalsky. Rick, thanks for joining us. Remember, you can get all your Albany Devils information at thealbanydevils.com. You can follow us on Facebook or on Twitter. We'll see you next time.